Mr. Chair, let's go ahead and go on the record here. One of the phrases that you use is that parole is a privilege. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that you have individuals that are incarcerated for a time, and those that are given what I call the privilege of parole are those individuals that work hard while they're incarcerated. They adhere to the policies that are in the institution. They take advantage of programming that's there. They stay out of trouble, and they sincerely want another chance. And that, in my view, is that privilege that they've earned to get them out. And this is where our process takes place. And it's a mystery to many people of what it is that we do. And that's why I'm so very happy to have the opportunity to talk about the hard work that our board members do and what our parole officers do, and those that are involved in our community programs division, which is a huge thing. And that's what we're here now. It's just as one of them. And what that process is that board members will sit, they will evaluate an individual who has their date, their time to come before the board. And the board members have their entire life in front of them, their entire criminal history, the things that put them there. And they're able to assess that individual. There's conversations about the crimes that they committed, the issues that they've encountered, the honesty that they're giving. Some had come with significant drug problems while in jail, taken advantage of it. Obviously, many are now sober, and you want to continue that. What I'm trying to say is that process, of that interview process, that give and take with the potential parolee, is the information that our board panel is given to evaluate that person's needs and to direct that person to those programs that we have available to us that are germane to what their problem is.
Mr. Chair, how do you keep the recidivism rate down so low compared to other states?
I'm happy that you asked that question. It bodes well for best practices that New Jersey uses, that many states don't. The amount of attention that our parole officers place on those that are in their charge. Some of our officers carry a caseload of up to 50 to 55 individuals, and their job is to ensure that those individuals that are in their charge are doing what they're supposed to do, to keep them on that kind of straight and narrow, the reporting process, et cetera, et cetera. The recidivism rate, I think, speaks volumes for the program partners that have, such as what we have here at Kentuck, that offers those programs, specific programs, that we need to send those individuals to so that they can learn how to write a resume. They are given the tools to get their driver's licenses, taking advantage of their dependency issues, making sure that their family considerations are done. I mean, a lot of things that, frankly, you don't think about. You know, you have someone that's in jail for a long time, children, families, they're part of it too. And if that doesn't work, and that support isn't there, and the person that is going through the change of a life, it's so very important that we offer that as well. So I think all of that contributes to why we're so successful. And our governor has taken a very strong position with respect to criminal justice reform. I sit on the new criminal justice reform committee that's being chaired by former Chief Justice Deborah Porras. We're making great strides there. We were recognized, along with Virginia and Pennsylvania, as one of the 3 key states by the National Governors Association to come together in a collaborative to look at best practices that can be shared throughout the United States. And I think that's just a wonderful thing. And we're very happy to do that, proud to do that.
Let me ask you, Mr. Chair, the same question a different way. How do you explain the reason for why you're so successful in New Jersey?
I think just what I had indicated earlier. It's keeping to those best practices. The passion, and I use that word because it takes passion to succeed. I've never seen anyone that's successful that doesn't have that. And that goes throughout our entire agency. Everyone that works there, anything that they're doing, they're committed to that particular piece of what it is that we do that's proactively going to make a success of that individual. It's a very important thing for us. We look at at what we have now under our supervision, which is a little over 15,000. It kind of fluctuates back and forth. I think that the prison population obviously is down as well. The amount of offenders, I think, I spoke to my good friend Commissioner Hicks just yesterday, and what is in the jails today are mostly violent people. Most of the people that are incarcerated are violent offenders, and so what happened years ago, those that you talk about mass incarceration, those that were incarcerated for drug problems. If you look at what happened years ago, people didn't understand. I look at my colleagues that go back to when I was doing it as a working law enforcement officer. It was a different kind of thinking. You didn't think of someone that had a problem that was in possession of narcotics.
So, Mr. Chair, so they get services they need here, plus if there's a dependency issue, they get help?
Yes, sir. They do.
So you're dealing with the drug addiction and the lifelong issues?
Correct. Correct. For as long as they are under our supervision. For as long as they are under our supervision. We continue to make sure that they adhere to the conditions of their parole. That is what happens. If someone is given parole, typically the board panel will have a condition sheet. And the conditions are, let's say, for someone that has those dependency issues, and we use dependency with a large stroke, whether it be alcohol, whether it be drugs. Typically, a board panel will say the conditions of your parole is that you must attend a community-based drug or alcohol treatment program as one of the conditions of your parole. Those things that come out as a result of the interview process are those issues or those particular considerations that are identified by the board panel appropriately for each individual. So it's kind of tailor-made for each one. Not easy. You're talking about individuals, some that lack skills. Let's face it. If you've had someone that have dependency issues, unfortunately, for many, many years, and the education went by the side, and the way that they were surviving every day was either through shoplifting but not violent crimes. That's the difference. You know, as a law enforcement officer, prior law enforcement officer, when I was doing panel hearings, for me, I would look at the individual before me, I would look at their, what we call a rap sheet. The rap sheet is the criminal history of everyone since even their juvenile time. And based on my experience, I could look at that and tell exactly what their problem was. I could tell that shoplifting, arrested for shoplifting, arrested for burglary of a vehicle, all non-violent things. But what they were doing is committing those crimes to support their addiction. The violent people are the violent ones. It's very interesting how that works out.
So, Mr. Chair, well, tell me about your background and how long you've been the head of this agency.
Okay. How much time do we have? I started in 1970 with the Trenton Police Division. I did a couple of years on the street, walking a beat, in a radio car. And then in 1971 or 72, I joined what was called the Special Services Unit. So I was undercover for 10 years. And in 1980 something, I went on to the Major Crimes Unit.
Undercover doing what?
Narcotics, organized crime.
So you really understand.
Yeah, I was all over the place, various places, different task forces.
Okay, so Trenton Police, and then what?
And then I became an undersheriff in the Mercer County Sheriff's Office for 4 years. I became first undersheriff in 1987 or 1988, and then the sheriff at the time went to the parole board, as a matter of fact. So I was named sheriff by Governor Florio. I had to run a couple of months later for sheriff, and that was in 1990. So I was a sheriff of Mercer County from 1990 until 2002.
So you've been doing this for 50 years.
And I'm not finished.
Okay.
And then after that, right after 9/11, months after 9/11, I was asked to go to the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. I was a deputy superintendent for intelligence and for training. And then in 2004, I became superintendent of police for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Wow. So I did that until coming to the parole board. Governor Corzine asked me to come here as their vice chair in 2009, and here I am. I became Governor Christie renominated me twice, and Governor Murphy named me chairman, nominated me as chairman this past August of 2018, and I was just confirmed by the Senate.
Mr. Chair, I close this way. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you feel the public needs to know?
I just think that's important that the public know that the parole board does good work. Good work for those individuals that have been incarcerated, that are in the process of looking to have a life. And I'd like for people to know that we're a big part of making sure, as best we can, that they succeed, and their families do too, and that they're able to contribute in a positive way to their community and to the state and to their families.
Pronounce your last name for me, and your first name?
First is Sam, Plumeri.
Plumeri.
Right.
Wow, you have a long experience. So Mr. Chair, I close this way. How would you describe your approach to dealing with these massive problems?
as a human being.
And that means?
That means being a good person. And that means understanding that people have problems, and to understand and to have feelings for people, and to treat people the way you would want yourself and your family treated.